Hello, Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of the Weekend Crusaders. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. We have a very special show today. We have a lot of very peculiar movie choices, to say the least. Brian, what do you think about our list this week?
I hate this show, and I want to quit.
This is a show, and I said it on last week. We've had this day marked down in our calendar, not in a good way. We've had this day marked in our calendar for a very, very long time, pretty much since we started deciding this show. When we got to, because basically what Brian and I do, a little behind the curtain, guys, is we will basically pull up the dates, and we'll look at every movie got released in those days, and then we basically go, what do we want to talk about? This. We got to this one day, I think it was the 27th of August, and I go, oh, God, this movie's on here. And he goes, are we going to talk about it? I'm like, we kind of can't not talk about it. Like, we have to. And we were going to just say, screw the normal format. Let's spend the entire episode talking about this one movie. Luckily, we didn't do that. But we were going to. So it could have been a lot worse. But we're going to start the show with this particular film. This is a film that Brian and I have taken a lot of ridicule of. Apparently, this film is very, very loved. Apparently, it's according to some people, it is one of the funniest comedies of all time. And Brian and I don't see the appeal of it. So we figured, let's watch it again. Let's see exactly what we think of it and see if we change our minds. And that film is the 2004 comedy Napoleon Dynamite, which is our feature film. Napoleon Dynamite came out on August 27th, 2004, had a budget of $400,000, had a weekend opening of $2.08 million, but made $19.11 million in limited releases prior to the wide release. And it was number 4 its opening weekend, had a finished box office of $46.13 million, 44.54 million domestic, and 1.59 million international. Brian, we rewatched the movie. We watched it together. Do your thoughts change about Napoleon Dynamite now than it did previously?
Not even the slightest.
No, this movie's fucking dog shit.
Yeah, no, this is a movie where, honestly, I don't think there's a single laugh to be found in this movie.
There isn't.
I mean,
There
may have been a moment, maybe two, where I chuckled at something, but it probably was not even the intended joke in the movie. And this is one of those, I mean, different people have different tastes in movies. Like, I'm not big on, like, Adam Sandler movies, but I at least get why people like that brand of humor. There's people like, kind of more the more artsy kind of comedies, which, again, might not be my thing, but I get it.
Yeah. You like Monty Python. I don't see the appeal of Monty Python. I don't bash you for it. It's just we have our different ways.
But this is one that I watch, and I'm like, people think this is funny, and this is people, and some of the people that think this is funny, like friends of ours or acquaintances of ours, that they're like have much snootier taste in this, and there's certain things they think are not funny at all, and they'll watch this. Oh my God, it's hilarious! I'm like, what fuck movie did you watch?
Were you high when you watched this movie? Because if you're stoned, maybe I can see the funniness of this film.
No,
maybe.
No, not even. No. I mean, the characters aren't funny. The dialogue's not funny. It's actually, it's. I think it's trying to be funny with its awkwardness, but instead it's just awkward, dumb, and boring. And it's. I wish I understood what they loved about it. The problem is when you ask somebody to understand what's funny about it, they just start quoting it, and it's not any funnier when you quote it back to me.
Yes, I literally had this conversation weeks ago. And I think you were on the call with me with these people. And we're like, Napoleon Dynamite's one of the worst films ever. And they go, no, it's not. Get over here, Tina, you fat lord. It's dinner. I'm like, that doesn't make me laugh. Like and if you try to have them explain it and they just start quoting you like, that's not funny. They're like, well, you just don't get it. No, I get it. I get the film. I get the idea of this film. It's just not funny. The quotes are not funny. The first time I saw this film, which was probably 2005, because first off, the trailers did nothing for me. And then I just kept hearing everyone go, Napoleon Dynamite is the greatest film. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I watched it. And I was watching it by myself, but I'm just sitting here going, am I not getting the joke? here, and I chuckled at two scenes. One was when Napoleon goes off the bike ramp and nuts himself, and the other is when he gets pushed into the locker, and then the bully walks away, and then he tries to field goal kick the guy when he's already out of the way. Those were the only two parts I chuckled at the first time I saw it. This time, did not laugh at those parts. A, because I knew they were coming, and B, because they just didn't land. And even then, they barely landed the first time I saw them. The only time in this film I had a slight smirk was literally when one of the characters had a slight smirk, which was oh god, the brother. What's his name? The nerdy brother.
I don't know the name.
Yeah, we're asking to remember the character names of a movie that we don't care about. Yeah, Kip. When Napoleon's trying the time machine and his nuts are getting shocked, and you see that Kip realizes that he's in pain, he starts to smirk a little. That's the only time in this film that I kind of slightly was amused by this. While watching this movie, Brian and I were trying. We weren't actively trying to hate this film. We wanted to kind of just see if maybe we were just being jaded about it. We were trying to find reasons for why this movie maybe is funny to people. I went under the impression that I think that the director, as a joke, made everyone in the cast take Adderall before shooting scenes, because every delivery is bone fucking dry. There's no emotion. There's no humor. There's no nothing. Apparently, you can't act with your hands. You have to basically just keep your arms down by your side the whole time. The camera shot.
You can't even talk with your eyes open.
Yeah, you can't talk with your eyes up. Well, I mean, everyone else did, or dead eyes if you're Pedro. There's story concepts that are completely what was happening with Pedro keep getting sick. I kept asking him, like, do we ever find out why? Like, does he just have the flu or what's going on? Never gets explained. Uncle Rico, who is just a sleazebag, gets a happy ending at the end of the film for some fucking reason. Why? I have no idea. But it's not funny. And honestly, I told you this, if I lived in Idaho, where this movie is based out of, I would be offended. Because
apparently in this movie, Idaho's a bunch of backwards people stuck in like 1970 or something like that.
Once again, we were stuck in the It Follows, and what was the other film that you were having problems with? It was It Follows. The Avengers.
That's right.
Where
we're trying to figure out when it took place.
Is this present 2004? Is this present day 2004? Because there's no cell phones. Everything's wood panel and like 1980s-esque.
The clothing is definitely 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
But yet they sell CDs and DVDs in the store, so it's got to be.
Exactly. So it's got to be at least late 90s, 2000s, because they did say DVDs in this, which even then you were like, oh, well, it's got to be, at this point, I'm like, but look at the store. DVDs at this time would be super expensive for a store like that. Like, they wouldn't sell those.
Yeah, that was like a Goodwill type store, yeah.
Exactly. And so it's one of those things where it's like we can't figure out the time frame, which, once again, that doesn't necessarily make the movie bad. But it's
but it's the whole thing about like you're talking about, that makes it's portraying these Idaho, or at least these rural Idaho people, as just being backwards and behind the times, and everyone in town is. Was there a normal, likable person in the entire movie? I don't think there was. I
mean, I'm sure some people in the high school were normal. I don't think we ever got that.
Well, like we were talking about how I forget the name, Haley Duff's friend, the one that Napoleon ended up asking to the.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Her mom was like, "You're going with that boy." It's like there are so many other. It's not like there's only like a couple boys in town. She's apparently a popular kid, and we're looking around like the background. There's plenty of like other normal high school kids at the high school. It's like, why would she go with this guy?
So, yeah, it's like the mother.
People there, but they certainly aren't featured.
Yeah, and I mean, literally, like the main cast that they follow. First, I mean, Haley Duff's normal. I say she's normal.
I guess
she's the blonde cheerleader. I mean, she's not, and even then, not even. Well, she's not even a mean girl by per se. I mean, by mean girl standards, she's like
not necessarily. No.
She does. She's never. It's not like she laughed at Rico when Rico, asked her out on the dance. She's just like, no, kind of thing. Like, she really wasn't a horrible person. Even the guy bully, like, granted, I mean, he was a jerk. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. I mean, he was a jerk to Napoleon, but he wasn't like a bully. But yes, top acting from this kid.
That's all he does the entire movie.
That's not funny. It's not funny. Oh my God, Brian, I would just get more and more annoyed by this actor that just chuckles and does the hot thing. I don't care. It's not funny. There's not a single funny line in this damn film. John Heater, doesn't matter. I've never liked the Napoleon character. He's an unlikable character. I don't know why you're supposed to root for this character. It's
because he says "gosh," so it's funny, right, Sean?
Gosh, and it's not funny. It isn't.
The
I
best
don't
example
get
of the
it.
problem with this movie, it's a bad movie, but what I really hate about it is that because so many people think it was funny and thought he was such a funny character.
He
I
got a
remember I was
career.
talking to Sean during this movie how, back in the days you used to watch the MTV Movie Awards. And I mean, they went for more popular stuff, but they still voted for real movies. So Terminator 2 was winning awards and things like this. And I think Pulp Fiction won awards, things like that. But then you get into like this era and it was like Napoleon Dynamite swept the awards. And that's the time when I said, I'm done watching that because I'm clearly not in touch with, what apparently the new generation of MTV generation.
And I told him, I was mad that year, but it was the Twilight years.
And then by the time I got to Twilight, I was long gone. But this was the year I was just like, I clearly am not in touch with anyone anymore, so I'm going to stop. Because I did not see anything that's funny about this. And the worst part is the parts they think are the funniest, and actually some people do think are the funniest, are the least funny. That whole dance sequence at the end, which goes
awkward
it's like, not even funny for 10 seconds, and it goes on for 5 minutes.
Awkward comedy can be funny. We love The Office. We love Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec's more goofy, awkward. Mm-hmm. The Office is awkward, funny. Like awkward. Like this is uncomfortable, but it's still funny. Why? Because you have great cast, great writing, and great actors who can make it funny. This cast is not that cast. Like I guarantee you, if you gave this script to John Krasinski, Jenna Fisher, Steve Carell, Rainn Wilson, yeah, they can make Napoleon Dynamite funny. Or the Parks and Rec, they can make it funny. Always Sunny in Philadelphia people, they can make this funny. This is not that cast. John Heater, what's that?
Or the director.
Or the director too. Yeah. And to further prove my point, they gave this guy, I'm pretty sure it's the same director who did Nacho Libre.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, it's not fucking funny. Nacho Libre is just fucking bad. It's a horrible fucking film. It's better than this because you have Jack Black who can actually act and do shit. But that movie is just as bad as this film. And it portrays pro wrestling shitty. And any wrestler fans that go, oh, I love Nacho Libre because wrestling, then you're fucking wrong. And I hate calling people straight up wrong. That movie's garbage. But Napoleon Dynamite started this stupid ass trend of awkward comedies are comedy gold. And they're not funny, like Fist Foot Way or Observe and Report or those kind of films. But even then, better cast. I mean, you got Danny McBride, you got Seth Rogen, those are better cast people for those films. They're still not good, but they're better because they have people who can do this stuff better. Honestly, the best actor in this film is Diedrich
Bader. I was gonna say the same thing.
Yes, Diedrich Bader. And his scene is technically the best scene in the film. It's still not funny, but he's the best part of this movie, and he's in 2 scenes. 3 if you count his commercial.
Well, the few good scenes you have in here, like his scene, Tina Majorino, who I've liked in things like Veronica Mars, she can be a good actress, but she's given nothing to work with here.
No, because it's like they gave her melatonin through the whole film, and they're trying to say stay awake and act.
And even Pedro, Efraim Ramirez, who hasn't done much, but I enjoyed him like in the Crank movies. I thought he was a lot of fun in those. So obviously he has some talent there, but even the people that had any inkling of talent in this movie were just like,
No, it's just everyone is just, like I said, it's like they're drugged up and they have no use of their arms, except for Uncle Rico, because he always has to throw a football. But I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I don't think you and I will ever get it. And this is not.
I'm hoping this is the last time I have to watch this movie.
And this is not a whole like generational thing, because yes, Brian, you are older than me, and I'm in that age group that should love this film. I don't like this movie. I've never liked this movie. I've given this movie opportunities to change my mind. It has never worked. And so many people are going to be pissed off. They already are pissed off at us because every time they hear you and me, like Monty Python, that wasn't my generation, so I didn't find it funny. This is my generation, and people get pissed off when I say Napoleon Dynamite sucks. And I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize for it. I know, like, granted, we like shitty films. Everyone's allowed to like shitty films. This film is not even worth being a shitty film. It's just dull and boring, and there's no fucking point to it. There is no character arc, really, except that Napoleon Dynamite basically decides he gets a friend. I guess that's his arc, because he has a friend, and he's willing to embarrass himself for said friend. That's the arc, because there's no, like they try to, like, tease this relationship between him and Tina, or not Tina. Tina's the fucking llama, Deb. And like, there's
the actress's name, yeah, Deb.
Yeah, and there's no real connection there. And honestly, Kip's the one character that gets kind of, I guess, the most arc. You think he's just talking to this, probably a dude, and he ends up talking to for him, a decent catch. Good for him. But yeah, with Kip, he gets to kind of, I guess, have his happy ending, which, once again, cool. I don't really care about the Kip character either. And like I said, Uncle Rico gets a happy ending. Why? And then I got excited.
He was never anything but an asshole the entire movie.
Exactly. And then a creeper to Deb. And he gets a way more attractive girl to come back to him in the movie. So it's like, okay, cool. And then, like, we got excited for a split second because the grandma is Mac's mom from Always Sunny, but then she's like in 2 scenes and then she's gone. Yeah, like I said, we were going to take the whole episode to talk just about this film, and
it's probably good we didn't, because this ended up being a lot angrier than I expected it to be.
Oh, it's
not just we didn't like it; we're actually angry about this movie.
It's not that we're angry; we're frustrated, because I feel like you and I are like, it's like Josie and the Pussycats. Where is there some hidden message, dialogue, brain warp thing that's going on that when you watch it, it's relaying information back to the people who are thinking that it's funny, and you and I are just not being affected by it? Because I can't figure it out, Brian. I can't.
I honestly think it's just people who break down comedy as movies that I can just randomly quote. That's what makes it funny. I say supposedly funny lines over and over again. That makes good comedy.
Aren't even funny.
Exactly.
And I even told Brian in this film, I technically kind of want to sue Napoleon Dynamite for a character, because I'm sorry, I created the Tigra. I know it's a liger in the movie, but I had created a tiger/cobra character back in like 1990.
I'm pretty sure all of us combined animals as kids. Just saying.
I'm just saying. I created that character in 1990.
You want credit for Napoleon Dynamite? Is that what you want?
I don't. I want reparations. Because everyone thinks a liger. No, not like that. But it's like, because everyone's just like, the liger is great. No, it's fucking, like, first off, the liger is in like a one-shot scene. Like, if you're gonna make the liger like a bigger part of this film, I could see maybe the love for the liger. But it's just, I'm glad we decided to do this show differently, because I don't think we could go 40 plus more minutes talking about this damn film.
No, I would have quit.
Yeah, it was hard enough to get us to rewatch this movie. And like I said, I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to watch this and go, you know what, Brian, that's actually funny. And I know Brian would be like, no, it's not.
I've done that before too, where it's like, maybe I was not in the right mood or mindset when I watched this movie. So you watch it again, like, okay, maybe this time I'll get it. Honestly, Monty Python the Holy Grail is the first Monty Python movie I saw. It was like that. I watched the movie, I'm like, I don't get the big deal. And later on, I've come to love that movie. So it's like sometimes you're just not in the right mood, especially for comedies.
And I've had comedies like that too. Super Troopers. First time I watched Super Troopers, I didn't love it. I watched it 6 months later, loved it. Tropic Thunder. I think I just had that way too high on a pedestal and it just didn't exceed it. And I just was like, oh my God, this movie sucked because it didn't match what I wanted. But 6 months later, I had that negative thought process when I can watch it, loved it. Comedies to me are probably the easiest ones that I'm able to turn and go, I hated it the first time I watched it, but now I find it funny. No, this is not going to be that film. And yeah, like you said, I hope to God I never have to watch this movie again, because it's 90 minutes, but it feels like 3 hours. It is pain-inducing. Like, if I was in charge of like a torture camp, and I wanted to torture somebody, I would just leave them in a room and blare Napoleon Dynamite 24/7, and have every wall covered in TVs so they couldn't look away from it. And I would make sure their eyes stayed open, like Clockwork Orange, and just make them watch Napoleon Dynamite with its tots and steak, horrible steak, first off. And I'm sorry, the state of Idaho, I apologize to you for people making you think that that is what Idaho is like. I hate when people think, because I'm from Nebraska, oh, is it just a bunch of cornfields? No, the corn's in Iowa, dumbass. We have Omaha steaks. We have cows, and we cook those cows, and the steaks are delicious. And I lived in Omaha, which is a big-ass city with arenas and Olympic stadiums and all this shit. But no, you guys just think it's cornfields. It's like, no. It's like, that's what I'm afraid with a lot of people when it comes to Idaho. Personally, I don't know what Idaho looks like. Could it be like Napoleon Dynamite? Maybe. I don't know. But I want to hold the benefit of the doubt that it's not like Napoleon Dynamite. And I feel bad for Idaho for having to be associated with Napoleon Dynamite. I've never had to apologize to a state for how a film has portrayed it. But I'm ready to move on. Are you ready to move on?
Yes, I don't want to be associated with Napoleon Dynamite either, so let's move on.
If you guys have not figured it out yet, that was our featured film.
That was the featured film.
That was the featured film. This is a very special episode, and it was a very painful episode for Brian and I to get through. This is an all-stinker episode.
If you're going to feature Napoleon Dynamite, you got to follow the rest, right?
Why did we make this an all-stinker episode? One, because we were initially going to spend the whole episode talking about Napoleon Dynamite. Because there was no good movies this week. This is the last week of summer, and there's just nothing good. This is where they dump all the trash films because they're trying to get ready for the fall schedule. So there was not any good movies on here that we wanted to talk about. Two, we realized that an hour 10 minutes is too long to talk about fucking Napoleon Dynamite when the movie is an hour and 30 minutes on its own. So we decided, let's do our normal format, but let's all pick stinkers for this. Which also means that Brian and I had to watch all 5 of these movies together, which, not that Brian and I hate watching movies together, it's just watching 5 stinkers.
Well, we're like, you know what? We usually have the most fun talking about stinkers, so hey, maybe a fun week. By the time we get movie 3, we're like,
this was not fun. This was not fun at all. This was bad. And so, yes, this is an all stinker episode. So if you saw this poster when you clicked on YouTube and go, awesome, they're going to talk about this movie, I love this movie, you're going to be very upset because we're gonna shit all over all these films. But we're going to move on to my pick. Now, my pick, Brian and I had never seen this movie. I saw the first film when it first came out. I think it's panned as a very campy, corny, bad horror film, the first film. I didn't hate it, but I know it's not a great film. But I thought the first film was solid. So when I saw the sequel come out, I think it was like, 7 years later? I think, because it wasn't Anaconda like
97 to 2004, so yeah, 7 years.
Yeah. I was like, cool, another Anaconda movie. And then I saw the trailer for it, I'm like, no, this doesn't look good at all. And I never watched it. And then, they made another 1 or 2 after this one. But we said, you know what? Screw it. This is the only time I'm probably ever going to watch Anaconda. So let's pick this. So my pick is Anaconda, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. That film, I'm not going to read that whole title again, came out August 27th, 2004. Had a budget of $20 million and had a weekend opening of $12.8 million. Number 2, its opening weekend behind Hero in its first week. It had a finished box office of $70.99 million, $32.23 million domestic, and $38.75 million international. Like I said, I love snakes, just like sharks. Snakes and animals are probably my 2 favorite animals on the planet, outside of dogs, because I'm not a monster. But snakes have never really had a Jaws-esque kind of film. So I think with Anaconda, that's what they were trying to do, is let's make a Jaws film, but with a giant snake. And what snake can be like a great white? Well, it's the Anaconda. And, the first film, you had J-Lo, Jon Voight. You had a young Owen Wilson, who was a nobody at the time. And Ice Cube, right? Yeah, it was Ice Cube. Solid cast, just a really, really bad script. And the snake looks really fucking fake. But at the time, it wasn't that bad.
By 97 standards, it was fine.
Yeah, by 97 standards, it was fine. So when we got this sequel, I remember we looked up the cast, and I was like, is there anyone really of note to, like, be excited about, except for, like, I guess Morris Chestnut?
That was the only name. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other names I recognize, but I can't
like
tell
we
you.
know the people, but it's not even like, sweet, this person's in this movie. This one falls under the stinker of it's not bad, it's just dull. And to be a horror movie about snakes, dull is not the word you want to use. And when you literally are going by I think, Brian, you go, oh, God, how much time is left in this movie? I go, well, we just hit the 40-minute mark, which means the snake should be attacking. And within 15 seconds of me saying that, snake attacked. Because it follows the horror formula of the first 40 minutes is nothing but tease and character building of the fodder that's going to die. And at the 40 to 45-minute mark, that is usually when the first on-screen death of the visualization of the killer is shown. And not even like within 15 seconds of me saying that snake jumps out of the water and snags somebody. But this we also kind of found out something here. What do you remember when we talked? Because it's been like over a week since we watched this movie. Do you remember when I was watching this going, this is clearly the plot of this other film that just came out? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
This is Jungle Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
This is a horror version of Jungle Cruise. There is a plant in the Amazon that they call it the Fountain of Youth. What is Jungle Cruise? It is about trying to find a plant that is the fountain
healing flower.
Exactly. That can heal anything. And then they go on a boat.
I gotta hire this boat guy.
Hire a boat guy to go down this path. And obviously there's not a giant anaconda in Jungle Cruise. There's, conquistadors and all this shit. But it's literally the plot of it's the un-Disney-fied version of Jungle Cruise without Emily Blunt and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's funny how in sync the film was. They're 17 years apart, but it was pretty funny that this is basically the horror version of Jungle Cruise. The snakes. This is probably the one thing to me that did worse. Like, yes, the 97 Anaconda snake, by that standards, did not look bad. I thought it was solid, but by today's standards, it looks pretty fake. They go all CG with the snakes in this one, and they look bad. They just look like, how scary can we make a snake look? And it's like, it's a snake. You don't have to try that hard. And it's just, the CG just looks horrendous. And then, we found out that the great, I'm pretty sure I probably read about this or heard on Discovery Channel at some point, that snakes basically have a orgy ball. That was some useful information. We're like, someone's totally gonna fall in that orgy ball pit of snakes. Like, that's so happening. And sure, why? Because it's literally the poster, I think, of the movie.
And we knew which character was gonna fall into it.
Yeah, it was like we knew what
that scene came up. Like, I bet this is gonna fall in. There it goes.
Yeah, like as soon as they said that, like, well, someone's clearly gonna fall in the orgy pit. It's like it's gonna happen. If it doesn't, then it's like, why the hell bring it up? But Brian, what were your thoughts on Anaconda, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid?
Well, this is Anacondas because there's more than one. Get it?
That is true. There is
that makes it like the Aliens to Alien, right?
Not yeah, and there is like a ton of anacondas in this film. Way more than there really should be.
So the first Anaconda, first of all, I enjoyed it for what it was. Anaconda was kind of like the lead into, there was like you said, kind of a Jaws kind of movie with anacondas. But after Anaconda is kind of when you got in that sci-fi channel movie where like just creatures and people and there's a lot of the straight to video stuff got pumped out with like these, with these monster movie kind of things. I didn't realize this one even came out to theaters. I thought the first one was the only one of these that went to theaters.
Oh no, this 100% came out. Yeah.
And you told me not only to come out, but it made what you said, like $60 million worldwide or whatever it was.
Yeah, like almost 71 million.
And I'm like, how the fuck did this movie make that much money? Because it doesn't have a single recognizable, really sellable star. The movie itself,
it made back its money. It made back
its quality for sure. So I guess it made all of its money based purely on the name that it was a sequel to Anaconda.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I suppose also no competition because as we've established, no good movies come out around this time of year. No. So for starters, I didn't even realize it came out to theaters. So I watched this movie, and like you said, it's mostly dreadfully boring. The CG is bad. The thing about late 90s, early 2000s CG is like if you showed me like the CG snakes, it by themselves, it might look impressive. I obviously couldn't do better, but it might even be impressive computer generated work for its time. But animation at that time never integrated well with the scene. Like I don't know if it's the lighting or when they're trying to interact with people or whatever. It's just like it just feels very fake. It never.
I mean,
works.
granted, the snakes in Jungle Cruise didn't look that great either, and this is 2021. But still, we've seen snakes look better.
There are plenty of movies where you can just say, okay, the effects aren't up to par, whether it be the limitations of the time or limitations of the budget, things like that. And going back to the, Ray Harryhausen stop motion Sinbad, things like that, it didn't look real, but you just like let yourself go and be like, okay, that's how they did this.
Clash of the Titans, the original Clash of the Titans. I love that film. I know it doesn't look great.
You just enjoy it. It doesn't have to look real. It can just be what it is, and that's how they're telling the story.
Exactly.
So I mean, I'll even overlook the effects. But like you said, it's dreadfully boring. Every single step of this movie was predictable, and it's like I don't even remember a single thing happened in this movie that surprised us at all.
No. One thing did surprise us is that what's his name? Eugene Bird's character Cole somehow survived the one attack he had. That dude should have been dead twice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Twice
he should have been super dead a couple times.
And he's walking around fine. Like he got straight up bit.
Not only just survived it, and this is after an Anaconda has. Well, first of all, he got like stabbed or something like that, or shot.
I think he maybe got stabbed.
Or the Anaconda actually has him and is squeezing him for an extended amount of time.
With a bark in between them. So he's being squeezed with an Anaconda strength.
Which would have been crushing
right there. But then
mention organs and things.
Yeah, against bark.
No, he falls to the ground. A few minutes later, he gets up. What? Oh, I'm okay. No, you're not.
First off, no. Every bone in your chest is broken. You're bleeding eternally. You probably can't breathe because your lungs have probably collapsed. You're dead. And you have a gigantic bite mark on your back from when the Anaconda grabbed you. Yet he survives the film. Yeah. He survives the film. That shocked us. Other than that, no, you're right.
So, yeah, and by the end of the movie, it was just kind of like, okay, yep, there's the snake orgy. Okay, there he goes in the snake orgy. Okay, movie's over. Can we move on to the next one, please? That's how I felt, because it was just it's just completely forgettable. Yeah,
I mean, it's not that the cast is bad. There's not really, like, it's not great acting, but it's not
they're what you'd expect from like a direct-to-video movie.
Exactly. There was no one going in.
I was just like, really? This got to theaters? I don't know.
There's no actor that made me just go, oh my God, this person's horrible. It's just the script's very paint by numbers, and you just kind of go through the motions of the film, and then the movie's over. And then I read the sequel, and wow, they really went with that Blood Orchid storyline, because that's literally all the sequels are based off that Blood Orchid, and I'm like, okay, it's like that wasn't even like the plot of the first film. The plot of the first film was just like a National Geographic like photo shoot thing. Like they wanted to I think it was like they wanted to like take pictures of like a tribe, and they just ran into the Anaconda there, and like they decided, nope, that story's stupid. Let's go off this mystical plant and let's build the whole franchise around it, which is why I never watched the rest of these films. But yeah, it's gonna chalk up as one of those films. It's like it's not necessarily really a stinker. If it had been any other week, would this be a stinker for us? Probably not. We probably wouldn't have made a stinker because it's not necessarily. I mean, it's not a good film, but it's not a stinker film. It's just kind of. This was one of those like I picked it because I was like, you know what, this is the only way I'm ever going to watch this film. I just want to see if it was any decent, and it's not. But it's not the worst thing. But it's definitely not the. I would say of these movies that we are talking about, it is probably the least not offensive. It's probably the least worst of these films.
Because there were the movies that we'd already kind of picked the worst of the worst to watch, except for a couple that even we weren't going to fucking touch.
We'll talk about that when we get to the actual.
We'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
So then, of what was left for us to pick for our individual ones, we're like, I guess this one.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, because this is an all sneaker week, we're not going to tell you whether these things are available on certain streaming options because you shouldn't watch these films. So we're just going to keep going, plugging on through. Next, we're going to go to our Revisited. This is a film that Brian has seen. I have never seen.
I had not seen it before this time.
You told me? Yes, you did, because you had it rated.
I don't remember watching it.
You gave it 2.5 stars.
No, see, you said that, and it's not on there.
It did. It totally has your picture. It says 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. But our Revisited film is a Vin Diesel film. No, we're not talking about the Fast and Furious.
That's why. You went in a different order than I thought we were going in. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, you thought I was talking about your pick?
That's why I was like, I've never seen this before.
You talking about your pick?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going to revisit it. So yeah, this is a one of those Vin Diesel films that's not Riddick. It's not Fast and Furious. It's just one of those weird ones he did that just didn't really appeal to me, so I didn't check it out. So Brian, really wanted me to watch this for some reason. I fought to not watch this because it just looked dreadfully boring.
This really was one of those. It was like, of what's left, I'm like, I don't know what to pick. We watched some trailers. There's a couple we were definitely not going to do. So I'm like, fine, I guess we'll do this one.
But we are talking about the 2008 sci-fi Vin Diesel film, Babylon AD. Babylon AD came out August 29th, 2008, had a budget of $70 million, had a weekend opening of $9.48 million. It was number 2 its opening weekend behind Tropic Thunder in its third week, had a finished box office of $72.1 million, $22.53 million domestic, $49.57 million international. Vin Diesel, outside of the Fast and Furious films and then like voice cast films, does he really have a good movie? Like Triple X is fine. I don't hate Triple X 1, but I mean, outside of voice cast, does he have a good?
He does have movies I enjoy. They're usually not been. I mean, I thought actually he was fine in Boiler Room. You ever saw that?
I never saw it.
Same Private Ryan, of course, you already talked about.
I'm not going to count.
There's another one we're going to talk about later this year. It's one of my picks, which I actually enjoy, so I won't talk about that one. But I mean, for the most part, it's like outside of his franchises, I'll say this much: they've not been successful, whether you like them or not.
Which actually, I didn't hate The Pacifier. I know that's actively not a good film, but I didn't hate that movie. But yeah, this film, I think the best way we described this was like Blade Runner and Children of Men, but Vin Diesel and not nearly as entertaining. Would you say that's about on point?
Pretty much.
It's like 2027, and once again, technology is way fucking far advanced than what it is right now in 2021. They have limos with like
it's gonna be a crazy 6 years, just saying.
Yeah, exactly. They have like limos with like the LED screens like inside so you can see out
with night vision.
Yeah, with night vision. There's apparently tracking devices in your neck that also are homing beacons for torpedoes. There's a lot of weird stuff in this film. But once again, kind of like Anaconda, this film is just dull and boring and led by a horrible performance, not by Vin Diesel, but by the woman that we're supposed to care about, who's supposed to survive the fucking film. And that is, what's her name?
Melanie Thierry?
Melanie Thierry.
I don't know if it's pronounced right, but yeah.
Who is just awful in this movie, like the definition of a wet blanket in this film. Like there's literally one scene where finally like Vin Diesel and Michelle Yeoh, who's not bad in the movie, they're all like huddled in this like little like tent in the Arctic or wherever they're at. It's like Canada actually. And they're all having a good time. Like they're laughing, they're smiling. And then like Melanie's character, what's her name? Aurora, just goes, "We're all going to die in New York. Okay, I'm going to bed. Good night." We're like, way to just kill the mood, buzzkill. Like, damn.
And then she went on to do like 3 other times in the movie. Like, just bring the room down randomly. Like, what the?
She's just such a Debbie Downer. Like she's like, where. It's like so many times. And then like actually no. Before I get to that one part, Brian, thoughts Babylon AD.
Yeah, so Babylon AD, like you said, it's one of these Vin Diesel ones we did outside of his franchises. Where I mean, actually, I think stuff like this was the reason he ended up going back to Fast and the Furious, because he did the first one. He didn't do 2. In 3, he showed up as like a cameo, but he kind of did these other movies that didn't really have the success he wanted. So of course, this next movie after this, Fast and Furious, the 4th one, and he kind of went back to the well for those. So I mean, even he knows this wasn't a great success. But it's the kind of thing, it's got that, that kind of near future dystopian vibe, which I actually like in a lot of movies, things like that. It very much is a Children of Men kind of atmosphere as far as, kind of the world's falling apart and all of a sudden he has to save this girl. And so, I mean, the concept of the story obviously is a good bones of a story, but it's it's another one of those that's not even really badly made. I mean, there are parts of the movies where it just kind of seems to jump from scene to scene, and you're not
There's
sure.
a whole story arc that is like just pops
Mhm.
up. Like I think like they tease it in the beginning of the film, and then they like never bring it up again until like the final act. And we're just like, why is this a thing? And
Well, that's the thing, and then there's the whole thing with like the relationship between Vin and Aurora, because it's like this weird thing where it's like he's almost at first like supposed to protect her, like he's like a daughter kind of character. Next thing you know, there's like this weird like sexual flirting chemistry going on, and it's just like this is really awkward. And then they kind of ignore that, and then at the end, supposedly they're like in love with each other or something. I'm like,
so Aurora is supposed to be this very special girl. They literally don't explain it until like literally the last 15 minutes of the movie. They do the exposition.
Oh yeah, there's a big exposition dump towards the end.
In the last 15 minutes of the film. And at one point in the movie, like you had that one scene you're talking about where her and Vin, like they're about to do
Michelle Yeoh is standing there going,
yeah, Michelle Yeoh comes in and kind of, cock blocks it. But it's then like the next scene, they're in New York and she comes walking out of the room going, I'm pregnant with twins. We're like, what? Wait. Vin, what did you do? When did you do it?
Michelle Yeoh doesn't seem surprised at all. And Vin just goes, oh shit. It's like, what, you didn't do anything with her.
Oh shit. And it's like, and then you find like she was immaculately conception, like she's freaking was it Mary?
Virgin Mary, yeah.
Yeah, Virgin Mary. And then like at the end of the movie, like she has the Padme death where she dies during childbirth and she's like, you're their father now. And then like one of the kids supposedly supposed to look like Vin at the end, but it's like, but
why? Because he had nothing to do with it. So
it's like that's just, did she get to choose? Like this one's gonna look like Vin Diesel because reasons.
Which at the end, it pretty much looked like he was living in the same cabin at the beginning of F9.
That is very true. That is very, very true.
Yeah, the kid with him, he's like, expects to see a car pull up. Here, hurry up, get under the floor.
And then of course he breaks. I mean, granted, I think this is why he went back to the Fast and Furious film, because at one point in the film he's like, "There's only two rules. There's only two things that matter: money and it was what, guns or something like that." Right. And I went family, and Brian goes, "Nope, not yet." I go, "You're right," because this movie bombed. And what did he do? He went to the family. But cast wise, like Mark Strong is in this, but. Like if you
this is pretty like popular. This is before
exactly. This is I described it as that this is Mark Strong back in like Reign of Fire when Gerard Butler is the best friend of Christian Bale and no one knew who Gerard Butler was at the time. Yeah. And now you watch, you're like, oh my god, it's Gerard Butler. It's like Mark Strong's that character, but not nearly as strong as Gerard Butler is in Reign of Fire. And he's got blonde hair. It looks really, really weird. But like he's the only other real name in this film. And then I can never say the French guy's name.
Oh, the actor?
Yeah.
Christopher Lamb? No, not
Christopher. No. Gerard.
Oh, Depardieu.
Depardieu. Yeah, he plays Gorski, who literally looks like the fucking penguin in this
big fat fake nose on there for no reason, and
it's just there's it's such a chopped up, messy film. Speaking of chopped up, the editing of this film is atrocious. Literally at one point we're watching it on like this on StreamYard. We have the picture up and we're over the side and there's a fight scene going on and I go, this is choppy as hell. And Brian goes, oh, I'm sorry, am I buffering? He thinks it's in there. I go, no, it's shot incredible. It is choppy as hell. You can't see anything that's going on. It's just it's you can't comprehend the fight scene or anything that's actually happening because just the direction, and just the choices that the director chose. And this is one of those movies where you said also that the director blames the studio for the film being bad, that they butchered the film.
Yeah, there's a whole document called Fucking Cassavetes, which is basically about how the studio constantly interfered and he didn't get to shoot like a single scene the way he wanted to shoot it and stuff like that, which I get that. And apparently there's like two different versions of the movie out there, but even the one that's closer to his version is still like not his version because so much of it he wasn't able to film the way he wanted. But even that aside, what he did film was just badly filmed.
I told Brian, I go, for once, I would just like a director to come out and say, It's not the studio's fault. I just fucking sucked at this. I just was not good at this film. I'll do better next time. It's on me. My bad. I sucked. Because there's just camera choices. Like, there was that one time, like, they're getting ready to run around a car, and the camera does this kind of thing. And it's just like, why was that a choice?
And there was another scene. I don't remember exactly where it was, but like two or three of the characters were talking, and it was doing that thing where the camera is like going around them. But it wasn't like a dolly shot. It was like somebody walking around behind them. It was so jostled, like somebody was trying to walk with the camera around everybody.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm getting dizzy just trying to watch this. But like, there's never a good shot scene in this film. Like, there's not a single well done shot. Everything is just choppy, poorly edited. I mean, I'm not saying I could do better because I haven't had the skills, but God,
give me to, and you don't take somebody's $40 million to do it.
Maybe give me 6 months. Maybe I could probably do better. But yeah, this is once again another one of those films. It's just boring and dull, and the story is convoluted as shit. It makes no sense. By the time you get to the end of the film, you're just like, I still don't really understand what the point of this film was.
But again, you don't care.
Yeah, exactly, but I don't care. Like, it's all about like AI and stuff, but it's like once we got the exposition dump at the end of the film, I was like, okay, so they just explained the bones of the film. I don't give a shit.
That's just it. From scene to scene, you're like not sure where it's going or what you're supposed to care about or anything like that. And then
let's not forget that Aurora has like this sense of like she can like predict what's gonna happen, kind of thing.
Sometimes, apparently, when it's convenient.
Yeah, when it's convenient.
But the perfect example, I mean, actually my favorite moment of watching this movie, but the perfect example was that point where she just walks out and she goes, I'm pregnant. And like, where the? And Sean and I were both like, did we fucking miss a love scene? What happened? And that's like the perfect example of this entire movie. And then I think even they knew that because they got to the last 15 minutes go, well, I guess we'll just tell everybody everything in his exposition dump. But even then, it dumps so much on you. It's like the architect in Matrix. You're like, I don't give a shit at this point.
I mean, at least the Architect of Matrix, like, you knew you were about to have a sit-down conversation. You know, you're like, all right, we're going to get this shit explained now. Let's pay attention. Where it's like, in this, like, I felt like we were like, oh, did we just switch into Bloodshot?
Oh, that's another thing. This movie
like, it literally, like, the third act, it turned into Vin Diesel's Bloodshot. And I'm like, wait.
He supposedly died. He was saved, replaced with a lot of these like mechanical parts and things like that. Now he's his special abilities and it was totally Bloodshot. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I guess is the reason why they casted him for Bloodshot. Because like, Vin, you've already done this movie before. Just do it again with this script. Anyway, Babylon AD, also not a good film. Let's move on to the next one. I actually enjoyed
Bloodshot though. Check out Bloodshot.
Yeah, Bloodshot's not bad.
Else you get to see Isaac Gonzalez.
Exactly, Bloodshot's not bad. I actually rather enjoyed the third act of that film. We're going to move on to Brian's pick. This is a pick. Poor Brendan Fraser.
He's an all-star on our show.
Poor Brendan. We need to stop picking on this man. We really do. Like, we like Brendan Fraser.
No, he did it to himself. No.
Yes, we like him. We do. He just picks really bad films, and we just can't stop picking them. But we are picking one. I honestly had never seen this. Brian had never seen this. But we wanted to kind of check it out because it was like, well, he's already been on the show so many times. Let's just see what this movie is. And we are talking about the 1999 live action adaptation of the cartoon Dudley Do-Right. Dudley Do-Right came out August 27th, 1999, had a budget of $70 million. Same as Babylon AD. I don't know where the money went. Had a weekend opening of $3 million, was number 11 its opening weekend, and had a finished box office of $9.97 million. I never watched Dudley Do-Right, the cartoon. I never did. I even wasn't necessarily a fan of Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I knew who Rocky and Bullwinkle were. But this is like, aren't they like, isn't it like their same universe? Like, yeah,
there was, I don't know what the company's called or anything like that. It's kind of like, how on Looney Tunes, you'd have, Wile E. Coyote cartoons and Bugs Bunny cartoons and Elmer Fudd, things like that. There was like this world where you'd have Rocky cartoons mixed with, and then like a short, and then there'd be Dudley Do-Right and the Fractured Fairy Tales, which we'll talk about, and these other ones, and they're all kind of mixed together in whatever they were. But yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I didn't know. So I just knew that he was supposed to be kind of like a bumbling idiot, but who's a ranger or a Mountie, not a ranger. He's a Mountie. that's all I knew about this going into it. But what shocked me was like Alfred Molina's the bad guy. It's like, wait, Alfred Molina's in this? What? And like, I mean, it was like, okay, this can't be that bad. And yeah, so Brian, this is your pick. Take it away.
So, okay, first of all, Brendan Fraser. He's made a lot of movies that we like. I mean, Sean likes The Mummy more than I do, but I enjoy The Mummy. Airheads, Encino Man.
I don't hate George in the Jungle, but I mean, it's not
earlier
great.
this year we've talked about also Blast in the Past. This is his third movie from 1999 alone. 3 movies in 1 year that we've talked about on this show, and the other 2 weren't even stinkers. This is apparently his stinker of the year. When it went into starting to watch this movie, I told Sean, I'm like, you know what? I think this is a movie I need to go into with the mindset of this is made for kids. This is going to be a movie made to entertain kids. It's going to be that kind of humor. It's, kind of like Furry Vengeance, which awful movie, but okay, I can see how kids are going to find this kind of humor funny. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go into this with the mindset, and maybe I'll appreciate it or at least enjoy it, whatever, not hate it so much because it's not trying to be a comedy. I'm not its target audience. So we start watching it. First of all, the movie starts out, Fractured Fairy Tales comes up, a cartoon. Which
Yeah,
like,
we literally are coming into this thinking that, we're going to see Dudley Do-Right cartoon, like kind of like a weird intro into the live action.
And so I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of clever, because Dudley Do-Right was one of those. So they're going to show this little Fractured Fairy Tales and then kind of segue into the movie, and just like the old cartoons. But then it goes on to be a whole actual short, like cartoon of Fractured Fairy Tales, kind of like when they show Pixar shorts before a Pixar movie. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand the point of it, but whatever. Which, first of all, I had a voice in it who I think he's one of the guys, the original voices from Fractured Fairy Tales, but he sounded exactly like John C. Reilly.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we totally thought it was John C. Reilly until we saw
looking it up to try and make sure, and it was not John C. Reilly.
Nope. Okay.
Second of all, I'm trying to think, why did they put that to be in this movie? Here's why. This movie without that short is 77 minutes long. It's an hour and 17 minutes
I think
long.
While we were watching, we were like, how long is this movie? And I go, well, you hit the thing and it was an hour and 22. And then I pull up at least an hour 17, which means that the cartoon should be ending any second. Ends.
Yeah, they put it on there to add 5 minutes to the running time. It's still only 82 minutes at that point. So, I mean, there's that. So I guess that's why they did that. So the cartoon aside, it is what it is. This movie, I guess I get what they're going for. I mean, he did George the Jungle, which was apparently a big hit. He was fine because he kind of plays that naive kind of character very well. Obviously, it's kind of Brendan Fraser's shtick. So I thought this would be a perfect job for him to do. But this movie he definitely plays that character, but it's just not funny at all.
He's honestly like not even the best part of the movie. The best part of the movie is Alfred Molina, technically.
Yeah, Alfred Molina. Now this is before Alfred Molina was
trying his ass off in this film.
It was really a star. I mean, Alfred Molina really didn't become like a star, a real known person until probably Spider-Man 2, which is a few years later. He had been in stuff before this. He was in Raiders of the Lost Ark, for that matter.
He's in a comedy that I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about by the end of the year.
He'd been in Species. He had done other movies, but I will say Alfred Molina as Snidely Whiplash, perfect casting. Now, what they did with the character, complete mess. But as far as when you first told me, I mean, if the internet was really as big a thing back then, and they said Alfred Molina's cast as Snidely Whiplash, people would have been like, "Oh my gosh, that's perfect." But
back then, yeah, no, he wasn't. I mean, he had Boogie Nights, but even then, that was a small scene. But yeah.
But the problem with this movie, besides Sarah Jessica Parker being Sarah Jessica Parker, there's 2 things about this movie. The two main points I want to hit about this movie, because I won't talk about every single dumb joke. The 2 main points I will talk about. 1, why do they feel the need to show entire musical dance sequences? Not once,
3 or 4,
not twice. 3 full musical dance sequences, and a couple other times they sang like parts of songs and things. And it's like, was the director like some frustrated person who always wanted to be a Broadway director or something? Because it wasn't like they showed a little scene of, it's like a full 5 to 7 minute production in a movie that's already only 77 minutes long. So you cut those out, you're probably gonna have like a 40-minute movie. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't understand. And none of them really had any point except that these tribe happened to be putting on a show. Well, let's sit and watch the whole thing. It is what it is. The second point, the villain, Snidely Whiplash.
I was like, guys, is this where you're going?
Didn't really do anything wrong. Now, early on in the movie, he robs a bank and steals some gold. That clearly crime, whatever. But nobody ever follows it up on that. They don't arrest him for that. They know it's him. Obviously.
Now, granted, the bank is robbed by 1,000 men.
1,000 people of Snidely Whiplash's gang.
Yeah.
But anyway, no one ever arrests him. No one goes after this gold. Apparently, they've just said, okay, fine, he took the gold. But beyond that initial thing, his whole plot is basically, I'm going to salt the gold mine areas around town so that people think that there's gold here, and they'll find gold, and then lots of people will move here, and the town that I just bought will become super prosperous. And yes, he's going to cash in on that. But all the people in town also see super prosperity, and it's
anyone who has businesses are going to see a profit.
Everybody in town is happy with him. Everything's going good. Now, the only thing is, at one point, there was the original people in town that kind of got driven out of town. So we realized, basically, this movie was all about gentrification, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, it's the kids' version of Blind Spotting.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's like the whole time watching this movie, we're just like, outside of robbing the bank, what has he actually done illegal? Because even at one point,
oh wait, he's being the good guy, and now Dudley Do-Right's being the bad guy. It's like, yeah, he kind of is. Why not just let Alfred Molina do his thing?
Literally, at one point in the film, they even go, "That's not illegal," and we're like, "You're right. You literally just pointed out the reason. The bad guy is not being a bad guy in this situation." Until the very end, where it's like, "We need to kill Dudley Do-Right," and it's like, "Okay, well now he got bad." And then like at one point because there's this Brooklyn, tribe of Native Americans, which is basically a bunch of
white guy New Yorkers dressed up as Native Americans.
It basically pretending to be Native Americans, and he charges them with tanks and shit, and like a Beach of Normandy situation, and then there's news stations there, and he's like, oh, great publicity. I'm like, you just rushed a Native American tribe. How is this publicity? This is bad for you.
And he's like, well, here, get some shots of us helping them clean up. It'll be good publicity. Like, they just saw the rest of it.
You just rushed them, and now you're shooting tanks at them. How is this positive? And it's just, and that's the other thing too, is we're watching this film, and we're like, okay, this is a kids movie. And then I'm like, where's the fun for the kids?
There's the other thing with me is, besides the fun, here's the biggest problem with this movie, and they had the same problem when they try to do Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, is that you're making a movie aimed at kids, so you're going to have that kind of childish humor in it, but you're taking a property from the late 60s, early 70s that no kid today knows about or cares about. It's not like you're taking some 60s, 70s property that was, is kind of timeless and people, and so now we're making a new version of it. No, you're taking something that really was kind of a product of its time. It kind of died in its time. And now you're trying to make a movie of it that no kids care about. So we don't know who their audience was they were going for in this movie, because the only people who remember this were too old to enjoy this.
The only aspect of it that made it not kid friendly, but made it a kids movie is that literally there was fart jokes. The horse kept farting or doing raspberries or something.
Anytime there was somebody could be in the middle of an explosion and they just have that black face and
black powder and everything, and Dudley Do-Right occasionally steps on a wooden board like a rake.
Occasionally, about 12 pounds. Yeah.
And it's just the main plot of the story. And what's the main moral of the story? If you act bad, you get the girl. If you act bad, you win the day until the very end of the film. Because that's the whole point, is that Dudley's constantly trying to be the good guy, do the right thing, and he loses Nell, who's horribly, horribly played by Sarah Jessica Parker, which that's not saying much because Sarah Jessica Parker never acts well, and don't you dare come at me with Sex in the City, because no. She's borderline annoying through this entire film. But he's trying to do the good thing, and she just gets annoyed by him. because he's like Dudley, which is like you came back to see Dudley and you're annoyed with him after like 5 minutes. And Snidely like literally just makes his move. Like he just goes up and kisses her.
Move and she goes to him. It's like, you can't blame her.
Like he's rich now and he's like just kind of making his move. Once again, not a bad guy thing by any means. He just went for it. And she's with him. And Dudley's just like, I must know. And he was like, well, you didn't fucking go for it, bro. It's like he did. And then he gets taught by fucking Monty Python, Eric Idle.
He was, come on, Eric Idle was far from the worst part of this movie, though.
Who his character makes literally no sense in this film. He's like a Mr. Miyagi kind of character whose teeth was horrendous, but by the end of the film was pearly white. But he basically tells him, you need to be bad. Like you need to dress in all black. You need to be a rebel and do all this. And he goes and he basically like kind of goes on Snidely Whiplash's property and destroys it. Like, basically breaking the law, and Sarah Jessica Parker's just like, oh, Dudley! And I'm just like, this bitch is wrong! Like, why do you want to be with this woman? She's wrong for you! Like, literally, you're breaking the law right now. You're going against everything you've ever wanted to be for the girl. And at the very end...
We just looked at the crowd, we picked out like 12 girls that were better than
yes, that's one thing that we did in this film. It's like, Sarah Jessica Parker, I get it. It's not all about looks and all this kind of crap. But it's like, he lives here. She hasn't. She's been gone. And I'm literally like, he could date her. He could date her. He could date her. He could date her. She's very pretty. He could date her. And it could just be because he's Dudley and he's just a doofus in this film. But it's just like, Sarah Jessica Parker is not the end-all, be-all, guys. I mean, she's not like Jessica Alba or Jessica Biel where you're like, oh, my God, I love her. It's like, Sarah Jessica Parker. Let's pump the brakes here real quick, guys. Like, I get it's a kid's movie, but come on. But this movie just... It's not that it makes no sense. It's just like, once again, like we both said, I don't know what the target audience is. Because there's fart jokes and there's kiddie jokes here and there, but it's like the plot is not very kid friendly because it's explaining like gentrification. Kids aren't going to understand that crap. And the plot is, if you're bad, you'll win. If you're bad, you'll get the girl. That's not a message you want to give to kids. And it's just like, it's just a mismatch of crap. It's not good. It's not good. And it's not even that Brendan Fraser's bad in it. He's just playing his normal goofy self. Sarah Jessica Parker really is the only bad actor in this film. Everyone else is kind of, Alfred Molina is killing it. Eric Idle is doing his role and Brendan Fraser's doing his role. It's just that it's a very bad script and it's all over the place in terms of tone. And like, I don't think they understood the writing of this film because it's just all over the place. But yeah, that's fucking Dudley, dude, right there. Do you have anything else you want to add about Dudley?
No, I mean, we've kind of covered.
I'm pretty sure you and I looked it up. This is the last we talk about Brendan Fraser for the rest of the year.
I think it is. We got to give the guy a break. But I mean, then again, this is also kind of the beginning of the end. It's like after, I mean, really, he kind of had his hits earlier in the 90s, and then by the time he hit 2000, he was in Crash, which was an Academy Award winner. But other than that, he did not have like much success after that. So
yeah, so this will probably be the last we talk about him for the rest of the year because the guy needs a break. Now we're going to our stinker.
The stinker.
We've been talking about some movies that we've been bashing, and Napoleon Dynamite is our featured stinker. This is the movie that it's so bad that it's the stinker of the stinkers. Now, yes, Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, or whatever the hell you want to call it, that did come out. We were like, we should be watching this. We watched the trailer, and you and I both went, F no.
No.
I
told you I will quit before I watch this movie.
We watched that trailer, and it was like a minute and a half, and that was a minute and a half too much of that film. Guys, no.
Even we have our limits. Yeah.
We're not doing it. So we think this movie, which is not much better. We have talked on this film or on the show about spoof movies. We've talked positively with Loaded Weapon 1. We've talked negatively with 50 Shades of Black. We talked about other ones that we've liked or disliked, like Spaceballs, I like, you don't like, Naked Gun, stuff like that. And we always talk about this, or scary movies. We always talk about this realm right here that we're about to talk about, where this is when shit went wrong. This is when because the success of Scary Movie like, oh my god, horror movie parodies are great. Let's make everything a parody. And that's when you started getting date movie, epic movie, superhero movie, Meet the Spartans, all this garbage, fucking horrible ass films that are just utter waste of space, does not deserve to be like watched by anybody. And we chose one of these. And we're like, well, I mean, you couldn't get any worse of a stinker, except for, Baby Geniuses 2. So we're going to talk about it. And yeah, this is, oh God, this film. We're talking about Disaster Movie. Disaster Movie came out also same day as Babylon AD, August 29th, 2008. Had a budget of $20 million. Had a weekend opening of $5.8 million, which is number 7. Its opening weekend behind Tropic Thunder in its 3rd week, Babylon AD in its 1st week, Dark Knight in its 7th week, House Bunny in its 2nd week, Traitor in its 1st week, and Death Race in its 2nd week. Had a finished box office of $34.8 million. 14.9 million, 19 million domestic, and 20.62 million international. And shame on each and every one of you that spent money to see this film. I hate these films. I literally think I just explained that right before we even announced the damn film. I have no respect for the directors that do these films. I have no respect for the studios that do these films. I'm not going to blame the actors because a gig's a gig. But these films are the lowest of the low to me. I despise these films more so than Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, they're just honestly trash. Brian, Disaster Movie, go. Before I go on to a huge rant.
Yeah, I mean, because there can be good spoof movies. Like the first Scary Movie, even for me, actually a couple of Scary movies, they're like, yes, they're kind of spoofing a whole genre, and they're definitely kind of random spoofs of other movies in there. But at least they like have their own story, and they're actually
a plot.
There's a plot. There's some decent actors. There's decent jokes in there that make sense, and it like follows.
And the spoofs make sense with the plot,
right? But the problem with this one and epic movies, other ones, is it's just so random and lazy. It's just like, let's just churn out something and randomly refer to things. Now, this one, from what I understand when I read it, this actually started out as a Superbad spoof, which all that remained in the final script of that was just like one scene where they have McLover, or whatever his name was in this movie.
I don't even remember what his character was.
Just a dude standing going, I am McLover, just over and over again. Like, that's the whole joke, is he's just saying that over and over again. But just in terms of this laziness in making this movie, now this movie, I basically say that this is a movie that answers the question of what movies came out between 2007 and early 2008. That was the whole point of this movie. Just like, it's a time capsule of here's all the movies.
We kept track.
Because we actually went through and found when all these things were released, and they all were released within, almost entirely released within like a year.
I think 2006 was the furthest back.
Was the earliest.
Yeah.
So basically, they said, let's take all the movies of the last year and the beginning of this year, and we're just going to put in random spoofs of them. Now, the problem with that is this movie went into production before half of the movies it spoofed came out of. When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I'm like, wait a minute, these movies that they have scenes from aren't even out yet. And sure enough, they were basing their entire jokes off just scenes in the trailers of other movies. The director or writers admitted, like, oh yeah, these weren't out yet, so we just like watched the trailers and made some jokes based on that. And it's like, if you don't think that's lazy, if you don't think that's just, hey, let's try and cash in on whatever, I don't know what's wrong with it, because clearly that it involved no actual effort into making this movie. The other problem with doing it that way is severely misjudging what's going to be successful. I mean, there's spoofs in this movie of Love Guru, of 10,000 BC, of all these things that, did they think those were going to be successful, I guess? Because why would you want to make a whole scene spoofing something that was a complete flop already, because it's already a joke of its own? So it's like, you watch this movie and go, really? You're going to spoof 10,000 BC of all movies? I mean, what's going on with that? So there's that aspect of it. The next question, what audience, again, are they going for in this movie? Because you're watching this stupid, joke after joke, random spoof movie, and you got references to No Country for Old Men right up against references to My Super Sweet 16. So I don't know who their fucking target audience was for this movie. Yeah, I mean, there's the cast of it. Ike Barinholtz plays like 8 roles himself.
Yeah, he plays like 8 characters. Matt Lautner.
Lanter, I think is his name.
Lanter, yeah, Matt Lanter, who I mean we like from Clone Wars.
Yeah.
He plays, I think, 2 characters. Carmen Electra plays 1 person. Nicole Parker, she plays like 3.
Yeah, basically there's the Mad TV people. I mean, Nicole Parker, Ike Barinholtz. There's somebody else too who played like.
Fucking Kim Kardashian's in this, and she's not the worst part of this film.
And I gotta say, I think Sean's biggest problem with Kim Kardashian in this movie, he was obsessed with her booty. He's like, why is she?
You don't show her booty. I don't want to know. That's a missed opportunity. How do you not show her? Like her whole basis of her whole character and life is her butt, and they don't ever show her butt. How do they not use that joke?
Because
How
she's trying to be a serious actress, I guess. But Sean was obsessed. Anytime she's on screen, like they still didn't show her booty.
Hold on, in 50 Shades of Black, they literally have a Kim Kardashian ass joke, but in this movie, we're above that. We're above a Kim Kardashian ass joke, but it's. Continue. I'm sorry. You said Kim Kardashian, and I just yeah.
And then like I said, every joke is just like a random joke. It's like let's bring in a random character. It's like not really following the story. Like they don't even jump into the story until half hour into this movie. Again, this movie's under 90 minutes long. It's like 75 minutes plus credits, I think. But there's really not even a plot until you hit like almost the half hour mark. And even then, there's barely a plot. But every joke is just so random in these kind of movies where it's like, they go, the worst part of these kind of movies is like, they're so sure that you won't even understand what their joke is supposed to be, or their imitation of someone is so bad that they felt every time someone comes on screen, they have to say who it is. We counted. There were more than 20. I want to say there's like 23 instances.
I think like 22 or 23.
Of somebody should go, hey, Dr. Phil, or like, it wasn't in this movie, but I think I remember another one. They're like, hey, it's American Idol's Ryan Seacrest. I think that was an epic movie. But they would keep doing things like that. They had to like introduce the character because they know that you're not going to know who this is supposed to be because
like one was it Iron Man comes up. He has to go, I am Iron Man. I'm like, no shit, you're in an Iron Man outfit. So
it's like 23 different times where they have to introduce the character before they can even try and make a joke about it because
like Amy Winehouse. The first one was Amy Winehouse. We're like, oh my god.
Yeah, a person shows up, but rather than just let you be like, okay, I identify that person, they're like, Amy Winehouse, what are you doing here?
It's the bare bones of the film. Like if you had to pick a plot, I guess it's Cloverfield, but there's no monster. There's no monster though. But it's about, this guy loves this girl, but he won't admit that he loves her, so she leaves his party.
It's like asteroids or something, or meteors are hitting. It's more like an Armageddon.
I don't even know if they really ever explain it.
But he's trying to get to her to get her safe.
Yeah, she's trapped. She's injured and trapped at a museum, which in Cloverfield it was her apartment. And so he and his friends are trying to get to her. But literally every 5 steps they take to get to her, they get stopped by a movie, whether it's Enchanted or Alvin and the Chipmunks or Juno. Fucking Juno. Jesus Christ. Oh my
John was sad when she died.
The Juno character. Oh my god. What was the actress who played Juno? Krista Flanagan. Just because I talk like this with my hands up like this and I'm like this, that makes me Juno, and I don't like literally every. It's like this is her reaction on everything is doing that. And when I don't know what's going on. I mean, she's basically the female version of what's his name from SNL who can't do shit. Little twerpy dude with glasses.
What with glasses? What?
SNL actor. He does the same thing. Where he talks like this and he thinks
you're talking about you mentioned him. Kyle Mooney is who you're talking about.
Yes, Kyle Mooney. Same fucking thing. He's a horrible actor, but he has to talk like this to be cool and awesome. And that's what she does as the Juno character the whole time, and it drove me fucking insane. But every time, like, they can't go further than 5 feet without them stopping the movie completely in their place to spoof Enchanted, which turned into a Step Up spoof. Or Alvin and the Chipmunks that turned into a horror movie spoof, or Night at the Museum that also turned into a Beowulf spoof, and that turned into another spoof, onto another spoof, onto another spoof, and we literally go, do they even know where they're at in the film anymore? Because like we're an hour.
Their idea of writing wasn't writing a script. Their idea of writing was let's make a list of movies.
Yeah.
Okay, check mark. We spoofed that one. Now let's spoof this one. Now let's spoof this one. Now let's spoof this one.
Because they're an hour into the film and they have moved maybe a block from the apartment because they just keep stopping and getting derailed and going into like these other spoofs, and none of them are good. I think you laughed at one joke and I laughed at one joke in the film.
And I don't even remember what it was.
I don't remember what the joke was either. That's how just like a okay, that one got me.
I do remember.
Mine. I can't. I think I
Mine
remember
involved the coat hanger. Let's just say that.
Yes, yeah, it was the Michael Cera singing the Juno song.
Yeah, that's right. He's singing a song to her, kind of like spoofing like Juno when they're singing the song.
Yeah.
And the song is basically like, I can do it with a coat hanger myself. Right?
Yeah, basically trying to get rid of the baby. Mine, I can't remember what it was. I think it was I can't remember. I'm not even gonna try to. But like they stopped the film just to do spoofs, which I get it, that's what these films are. But there's no connective tissue of a plot. Like they stop it at one point to do a High School Musical number about sex. Then they stop it again for Carmen Electra and I think Kim Kardashian to have a wrestling match at one point. Then the Anton Yelchin character, which every 5 minutes Ike has to come out as a new character. Like that must be in his content. Ike? What?
He's Anton Yelchin?
Well, he was not Anton. No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. But Ike Barinholtz, literally every 5 to 10 minutes, has to show up as a new character. I mean, he's Batman, he's Hulk, he's a caveman, he's Anton from the Old Country for Old Men. He's what?
Anton Chigurh.
Chigurh. He's Beowulf. I mean, dude is working his butt off, and like they're not good at all. It's just this movie is like we honestly, and I think I was saying it's like, man, we dog shit all over 50 Shades of Black, but at least that had like a plot. That had a connective plot.
If we'd watched 50 Shades of Black after this, we'd have been like, it wasn't bad.
You know what? For it's not a good spoof, but it's a hell of a lot better than Disaster Movie. I mean, even Date Movie, which I think was the very, very first one of this group of people doing these, that one at least had, I felt like a connected tissue. Superhero Movie, I think had a connected, it was like Kick-Ass, had a connected tissue. But like this and Meet the Spartans, an epic movie, and like
it was just a random checklist of spoofs. That's all they were.
Exactly. And there's no plot. It just is, let's throw this. And I think there were certain points of the film where, like you said, because it was based off the trailer, I'm like, where are they going with this? Because this has nothing to do with the movie that they're spoofing and shit. And it's just like, and Brian, you were like, it's because they never saw the movie. They're just going based off plot, or they're going based off the trailer. And it's lazy. And like I said, I don't want to blame the actors except for the fucking Juno chick, because my God. But it's just, oh yeah, Kung Fu Panda. That was another one. Just the Kung Fu Panda one. Oh my God, the Kung Fu Panda. Which I'll get it. That guy did do a decent Jack Black impersonation because everyone was like,
the guy in like a bad like mascot head. It was like really badly made too. And you're like, wow, they didn't put much money in care.
And they'll do like a Kill Bill Matrix fight scene in the middle of the museum and shit. Yeah. It's this movie's so bad. It's so utterly.
I think bad. The real villain here, though, not even the directors are horrible and the writers are horrible. I blame however many people went and helped this make $20 million, whatever it was. No, it was made for 20. It made 30-some million. Okay. Which means that it didn't make its money back, but it still made money, and that's why they kept shelling out more and more of these. Y'all are to blame because it's like you guys are feeding a bad habit. Like, stop. If you guys, which eventually that's what happened. I think for the most part stopped, or they just went direct to digital or direct to DVD because people did eventually stop going to see these in films. That's where you got like the Fast and Furious spinoff one they just did. Like, there was Super Fast, there was Tooken, there was the Starving Games, things like that.
Yeah, finally people like woke up and said, we're not going to go see this film. And they're like, oh, we're going to keep making them direct to DVD and video, and which apparently people are still buying them or watching them because they keep making them. But
making them, yeah.
God. Anyway, that's the end of this episode. This is an episode that a special episode. we didn't plan on doing an all stinker episode. I think there's been a lot of people who wanted us to do an all stinker episode, but I don't think this is the episode you guys were envisioning. Like I said, this was all built around Napoleon Dynamite. So if you want to thank anyone for this episode, I guess thank Napoleon Dynamite and our hatred of it, because
Hey, Sean, Napoleon Dynamite or disaster movie?
which is worse?
Yeah.
I mean, Napoleon Dynamite is not worse than Disaster Movie in terms of a film. In terms of enjoyment, I think you and I were frustrated, but we still maybe enjoyed Disaster Movie because you and I both still laughed
That's
once.
what I was going to say.
You and I still had at least one laugh moment in Disaster Movie. We did not laugh at all in Napoleon
I was going
Dynamite.
to say Napoleon Dynamite might be the better film technically, but I still enjoy Disaster Movie more. That's
the better
sad.
film is Napoleon Dynamite. The
That's
better
sad.
entertainment value technically is Disaster Movie, but even then, that's like someone stepping on dog shit and slipping and falling and breaking their back in terms of like enjoyment compared to like wanting to watch this film or any other ones.
Yeah.
But we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all social media as you see below. Now, because of this week and us watching all these movies together, we're taking a week off. Also, because the first week of September has no good movies at all. Now, before you guys start
to talk about, and that was like
before you guys start, going that movie, it's the movies that came out during September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We found maybe 1, 2 tops that were worth talking about, and we're not going to build a whole show around that. Even though we technically just did that with
Plus, we just need a break.
Yeah, we would need a break after this week. We need to reset ourselves. So there's not going to be a show next week. The following week,
We're coming back with a really good one, though.
yes, the next few shows after that, we got some good movies. We got some movies that I think we're real excited to watch. We got a movie that I think a lot of people have really talked positively about. I never saw it. Every time I try to watch this movie, something stops me from seeing it. Like literally, it's like the movie that they don't want Sean to see. Because every time I get ready to watch this film, I get pulled away. I'm finally going to watch this movie. We got a horror film that I think is cult following is pretty positive on it. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember it at all. We have a stinker that's just a disappointment because it could have been great. It really could have been great, and it's just not. We have a 90s, is it a spy movie?
It's a spy thriller / comedy.
I've heard nothing but good things from Brian and other people about this film, so I'm actually excited to check this one out. And then we have another 90s crime love story, I guess would be the right term to use it. Most people who are in our movie, vicinities, they've seen this film. We're going to talk about that movie as well. Let's figure out what those movies are. In terms of movies that are coming out, yes, I did see Reminiscence. Brian did as well. I just don't want to do a review for it because it was kind of That's exact. Yes, Brian, what is your quick review of Reminiscence?
For a movie about memories, it's easily forgettable.
Yes. It makes me want to see Hugh Jackman in a PI noir film, but frankly, the story based around what the story is about, I was more interested in the outside aspect of the story than the actual story we got. None of the performances were bad. It's just I did not care about a guy who could not get over a woman that he only knew for a few months when I really was more caring about the world of that story, which we never got. It's a 54, or I think I gave it a 56%. It's a C grade. Not something I recommend, but it's on HBO Max and in theaters. This week,
I think Candyman's the only major release this week.
Candyman. Yeah, I finally watched the first Candyman, so at least I got that in the books. So there will be a review for Candyman. I'll watch that at some point this week. And then coming up next week, Shang-Chi, which good word of mouth so far. So here's hoping Marvel has another potential home run on their hands. So there'll be reviews for that as well. I can't think of anything else coming out. I'm sure. Or Sweet Girl, you said that was kind of okay.
Sweet Girl was actually decent until there's like a twist in the third act, which kills the whole movie. But I
have not seen Annette yet. I still don't know if I will. I think Kate
is a couple weeks out. That's like September 10th, I believe.
Okay. So we'll be back before then. And then, did you ever see Protege?
I did not. I'll probably be seeing that this weekend.
Okay. So yeah, those are all the movies coming out between now and our next episode. Like I said, if I see them, there'll be reviews. If not, there won't be reviews. That's just how the way it works. But we definitely will have reviews for Candyman and Shang-Chi when those come out. But until next time, I'm Sean Wasserkrug. That is Brian Michaels. We are the Weekend Crusaders. In case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.